All right, guys, I think we can go ahead and get started. Once again, welcome to Web3 Global Talks, episode 440, powered by BitUnix. If you have not been here before, we like to do a round of intros here, so about a minute apiece telling people who you are and who you're representing. And then, of course, we'll jump into the questions. And for these round of intros, like I always do, I'm start from top to bottom. So BitUnix, you guys are up.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. What's up, everybody? Yahya here, social media manager at BitUnix, one of the fastest growing crypto exchanges out there. We've got over 3 million users and seeing up to $10 billion in daily trading volume. And yeah, as always, we're powering this AMA today for our friends at Web3 Global. So super happy and excited to be here for today's topic.
Yeah, and of course, thank you for helping us out today, man. All right, let's go to Guru Network.
Hey, here is Guru Network. I'm Evgeny, CEO and founder of Dex Guru and now Guru Network. We started as a trading terminal in DeFi space 4 years ago. Had a blast during DeFi summer, and then we deliver on different analytics products for Web3 market. And now we're building Guru Network, the network of community apps around crypto space, around engagement, and all kind of those things. So thanks for inviting us to this Web3 global event, and yeah, happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. All right. And Adrian, I know you're super busy right now. Thanks for joining us, man. How are you? Adrian may be so busy that he cannot answer. There you go. Okay.
I'm here. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so thank you for the invite, and I'm excited to be here. I'm representing Cadena. We're a proof of work layer 1 blockchain, and excited to be with you guys today.
Thank you, Adrian. Always good to have you, man. All right. Let's go with Ollie.
Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me well. Always a pleasure to be present at those spaces. I mean, what a quality space you guys always manage to do. It's just incredible. So shout out to Web3 and the whole team. So my name is Oli. I'm from Diony Protocol, which is also an L1 blockchain. So hey, Adrian, nice to meet you and everybody joining us. I'm currently representing as the CEO of Diony Protocol, which we represent a layer 1 blockchain fully powered by renewable energy. And it's a pleasure to be here. So very excited about this space. Not gonna lie, it's gonna be a good one.
Thank you, man. All right. Let's go with Flux.
Morning, everybody. I'm Davey Wittuck, or JFK here on Twitter and on Discord. I'm the Chief Customer Success Officer at Influx Technologies. What we do is we're focused on delivering decentralized enterprise-grade infrastructure through products like Flux Edge for compute power, Flux Cloud for scalable app hosting, and Flux AI for private and business AI workloads. My background personally is medical IT and cloud compute. And I've been helping Influx with the business side of things to adopt AI and decentralized tech in a secure and efficient way. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, man. All right. And Pharmacy Cat, you're up, man.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for the invite. I'm heading up community and marketing at Elixir. Elixir is the network for decentralized stablecoin. We have DEUSD, which is powering deep liquidity and instant native mints and redemptions for institutional real-world assets, including some of the largest funds on earth. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Nice. Thank you, man. And yeah, I know that there's two of you guys in here. You guys can feel free to trade off on the questions. No worries. All right. And let's go with Imes and Cordell.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here back again. Thank you for having me again. And I'm from Cordell, one of the most compatible BTC Fi ecosystem and also an L1. Most compatible to Bitcoin. Thank you for having me here again.
Nice. Great to have you, man. And if anybody from Pulse is in here, by the way, chat in the group which one of you is speaking, because I do have some requests, but they are random. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and jump to the questions. Of course, guys, I'm also up there in the co-host spot, just for some redundancy. Hopefully we don't have a lot of issues today. But we're going to start off strong with a potentially, I guess, controversial question. And the question is, should we stop calling Web3 decentralized until we actually deliver it? Kind of a loaded question, honestly, on purpose to spark some conversation here. So, we'll go off of a hand raise as we always do. A lot of you guys have been here before. Jeff Key, you're up first, man. And then it's Adrian and Bit Unix so far.
I'm not sure why we would stop calling it. We've already built it in our case, so it's here to stay. Decentralized web compute is already built. We have it running. I think we're in about 10,000 servers right now globally that are basically run by people like you and I, providing the compute power to run your websites, the game servers, whatever. It's already built, so we can definitely keep the name as it is. Web3, Deepin, whatever you like to call it, it's here already. And it's being adopted, so what more do we want?
Okay, fair enough take. Obviously I believe that a lot of people are actually decentralized in the space. I'm not, really going against that narrative, so to speak, but I think that definitely, there is some decentralized in name only, if you want to think of it that way, projects and things like that. So, but yeah, man, start off strong. I like it, especially the confidence for sure. All right. Adrian, what are your thoughts, man?
I would say, probably yes. Right now, calling most Web3 projects decentralized is like calling a halfway built bridge finished. We've got decentralization in marketing decks, but we don't have infrastructure or governance. So let's earn the word before we use it. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is a lot of the rhetoric, is just rhetoric without action. And again, that's kind of my opinion. I think that you can kind of see it in action. I've worked for projects that were quote decentralized, and I could tell you behind the scenes, it's one guy controlling pretty much everything that happens within the protocol. We've all seen it. So again, like I said, it's a bit of a controversial take, a controversial question. I'm well aware. And the other reason why I ask it is because, it's like I say in all my spaces, well, not all of them, but it comes up often that there seems to be this clear delineation of the industry moving forward, where there are people who are there for the original ethos and decentralization and what Web3 was supposed to be about. And then you have more the Web 2.5 side, which is definitely, more the institutional things, basically just a business that's slapping like the Web3 branding on top of what they're doing, without actually believing in the underlying ethos. But yeah, thank you, Adrian. All right, Bit Unix, you guys are up.
Yeah, man. I'd say instead of debating whether we should call it decentralized, we should be asking how close are we to actually live in it. And as you said, Tyler, right now a lot of projects are halfway there. Let's say they've got blockchain tech, but decision making or infrastructure still runs through centralized bottlenecks. So for us as an exchange, we try to chip away at those bottlenecks with things people can actually see and use. For example, we update our proof of reserve in real time monthly, so users don't have to trust us blindly. They can verify assets anytime. For example, we also integrate things like TradingView directly into the platform, so traders can run their own analysis without relying on external data or anything of that sort. So yeah, maybe we don't need to throw the word decentralized out completely, but we do need to back it up with visible, verifiable steps that move us towards decentralization.
Yeah, actual transparency and stuff. And, that's a pretty good take, especially for a centralized exchange. I think that is fair to say, obviously you guys will centralize some control. It's literally in the name. But yeah, offering those tools to people, I think is very important. And just being aware and championing, DeFi in general. If you're a sex, I think that's where most centralized exchanges should lie. I mean, obviously we see Coinbase is really pushing base right now. Obviously it's in their best interest to do so, but you could argue that it is decentralized. So, it's a good thing that basically what I'm saying is any centralized gatekeepers are trying to also push decentralization at the same time. So, but yeah, thank you, man. Jeff Key, you want to jump back in, man?
Well, absolutely. One of the things that irks me wrong, and I was at what was it, Consensus in Toronto earlier in the year. One of the things that I noticed there was a lot of folks using the Web3 tag as a branding tag, right? And we heard a couple other folks say that already as well. It is a branding tag, and it always baffles me when I see then at Google and then Amazon on at these conferences promoting their Web3 offering. And when you then challenge them on the floor with these folks, like, okay, what makes you Web3? If you guys are thinking you guys are Web3, what makes you Web3? There's never an answer, right? So if your product or your chain has to run with pieces of decentralized pieces, then no, you're not fully decentralized yet. I'm not using that as a criticism at all. I've been a developer. I know where you have to start. If you have to build things up, you start off with things you trust, with things you're familiar with. Then moving into a more decentralized platform comes with unknowing risks, meaning sometimes the cost of adapting to a new technology. I get that it's not always easy. So I'm not here to say, hey, if you are still having centralized pieces to your product, you're bad. No, I'm saying you're probably still building on things. Now, if you're not, if you're saying, hey, we're decentralized and our product is final and it's all up and running, but you're still using the larger players in the space, then no, you're not decentralized. And it's time for you to start looking at what actual decentralized pieces mean. There's a lot of products out there and a lot of projects doing deep in stuff. And there is options at this point to go fully decentralized, securely even, because that was always part of the issues, right? Like how do we know if that's secure? How do we know if these things follow policies? How do we know if they're adhering to GDPR or they're adhering to HIPAA rules and all that? Those pieces in the last couple of years have actually been taken out as an argument as don't use Web3 at this point. It's ready. It's here to be used, and you can go really secure now as well on these platforms. So I think we should definitely start using Web3 as a proper badge, but also you should be critical and asking questions if people are using the Web3 piece. Like, are you really Web3, or what makes you Web3 at this point? So it's a fair question to start off the conversation off with.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a fair question as well. And, obviously, technically speaking, it was a lot harder at a certain point to be decentralized than it is now. And, it's only getting easier with every day. So yeah, I'm not kind of being derisive of projects that start off a certain way either, because I obviously understand the nature of the beast a little bit, but it should definitely be something that you're working towards, sooner rather than later, if you want to call yourself that. If you just want to be a company that has blockchain elements or whatever, that's a different form of thinking, I would guess. That's the way that I would kind of categorize it. I mean, you could have blockchain tech, you could have, the technology we use without being decentralized, but, you should definitely not be, parading that badge around necessarily if it's not something you ever intend to work towards. But yeah, thank you, man. All right, Guru.
Yep. So, yeah, my thoughts are Web3 is a brand, right? And the brand basically uh, promised everyone decentralization, but at the same time, that brand attract people it attracts audience. And the question here, what's the demand from this audience? Does that audience actually demands any decentralization? Do they care? And having trading terminal for DeFi space, we from the very beginning, we were very focused on having only on-chain data in there, just trusted sources and so on and so forth. So no centralized data sources and everything. But in the end of the day, what we've seen from the audience who's using the product, that they actually don't care. And the question here is, how do we incorporate in all our decentralization technologies, which we are developing on everyone's side, into the business processes, so those business processes actually make sense, and there is no other way to do it other than in decentralized way. And the field we are tackling right now, like applying the same stuff to the communities and doing community apps based on those technologies, kind of giving another level of decentralization, because the main thing in decentralization is governance decentralization, and that's what exactly needed for communities, and that's where it is organically kind of lays in. So yeah, mine 5 cents, like decentralization for the sake of decentralization. We need something better.
Yeah, I tend to agree as well, man. And, what I'm about to say, I'm not coming from an elitist viewpoint, but I think most people don't understand that they want decentralization. Because they just really, don't know exactly what it means, for one. And, I'm not saying that everybody is stupid but us. I think it just hasn't hit them yet. Like it has us, the need for, these decentralized networks and things like that. I think people are going to definitely learn that, especially with all the laws that are coming into play right now. Like with YouTube requiring, license verification if they think you're under 18 years old. All these payment processors who can, basically be beholden to the whims of 1,000 people who say, no, we're morally against, you offering the ability for people to buy these things, even though they're 100% legal. It's like I always say, I think crypto is more born out of necessity than out of hobby, which is why it's been adopted so much in Latin America, Southeast Asia, different places like that, right? Where it has been basically the only option, and people kind of had to adjust from there. Obviously, that's my take, but, yeah. Jeff, you want to jump back in real quick, man?
Yeah, it's the first thing I hear about the YouTube requiring a license now. What? We're gonna have to prove to yet another entity who we are just to be able to watch anything
Yeah.
of our choosing. That's the first thing
So,
I hear about. But then again, I've been on vacation for the last couple of weeks, so been really good
yeah.
at apparently at locking myself off from social media. So good for me.
No, it's actually insane, man. Yeah, from what I understand, and to be honest, I haven't completely had time to research all of it myself, but the last thing I heard was essentially like they're going to start using AI to, basically monitor your watch history, and different things like that to kind of determine if they think that you're under 18 years of age, and if that's the case, then, you'll have to upload a government issued ID. And of course, there's different laws that are being passed, like in the UK for a lot of censorship and things like that. So, this is what I'm talking about, right? What I meant to talk about with that example was, I think that's the catalyst a little bit more for the West, to start caring about why they would want decentralized platforms, outside of finance, right? I'm talking like social media, obviously video platforms, different things like that. People will start to care, I think, a little bit more, probably in the next couple of years here, and we can really rope people in if we do it correctly. But yeah. All right. Jeezy, you want to jump in, man?
Yeah, how you doing? I'm the other half from the Elixir team here today, so thanks for having us. As far as Web3 decentralized, I think we can definitely reconsider the term decentralized until it consistently delivers on that promise. The term is very often used as a marketing buzzword, but many projects remain centralized in practice due to concentrated token ownership, reliance on centralized infrastructure, or governance controlled by a small group of devs or investors. and I love speaking things into existence. So I guess, let's keep saying it's decentralized, and hopefully that can happen one day. But it's definitely a term that gets floated around a little too much in places it shouldn't be.
Yeah, there's a few too many things that are more marketing terms over here than they are the reality of the situation. I would think, even outside of decentralization, there are definitely other things that we kind of tote. Yeah, my favorite thing is like, yeah, we're completely decentralized. It's like, yeah, but we use AWS. So it's like, okay, well, not really then, huh? But that's one of those things, that if you're not actually thinking about it, right? If you're not digging deep into these projects and different things like that, you wouldn't ever really realize, because it's not like it's something that they advertise, because why would they, right? It's a detriment to them. So just some things to consider. And I think that the longer you're in this space, obviously the more you become privy to, a lot of the things that happen around here. But yeah, that was a good point, man. All right. Let's go with Imes.
Yeah, hi. I'll have to agree to most of you guys. Really. Yes, my answer is yes as well. Can we refrain from calling it decentralized at the moment? It feels like we are lying to ourselves. It gives us the facade that we are in a moment that we are truly not yet there. And we will get there, of course. We want that. And I think with everything that happens politically across different geographies, definitely we need that. But please hold your horses, relax, and let's call it Web3. Because we really are in the third version or third revolution of the World Wide Web, right? But we are not decentralized yet in any aspect of that word. Um, it should be part of the discussion. It should always be part of discussion when we're building something, but it should not be thrown around as a branding. So that's my take.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we should just ask our peers. We should ask better of our peers, is essentially what I'm getting at as well. And, it's like I was saying, I know that sometimes it's slow to happen, but it should happen, right? That should be the end goal at least. And some have argued before in these spaces for similar questions that if you don't start off decentralized, there is no way you will ever become decentralized. I'm not quite sure I agree with that to that extreme. I think it's definitely possible. I think you could start off some way and then, definitely kind of pivot from there, but everybody feels a little differently about it. And yeah, calling it Web3, I think again, this is what my delineation was talking about, where you'll have a decentralized Web3 and you'll have a Web3 that is just the new branding, just like Web2 was, right? And that's again going to be more towards the traditional side of things. And whether you want to engage in those kind of things, I guess is your prerogative. But, if you actually care about decentralization and kind of what's going on, maybe you should avoid those things. But it's my opinion. Pharmacy Cat, you're up, man.
Hey, yeah, I think there's been some pretty good points made so far by all our speakers. I'm going to have to go and align with Jeezy here about speaking it into existence. I think there's definitely like a way to go. Like we have centralized infrastructure, DAOs, there's huge chunks of tokens in different people's hands. And if you actually go and forage into DAOs, you'll see even in some of the biggest protocols with the highest TVL that the DAOs are just not that active, or, majority of votes come from a few wallets or clusters of wallets. And I think we'll always have like a super far way to go with that. But if you look at like, a lot of the biggest success stories in crypto, and this isn't advocacy for centralization, of course, that would be insane. But, a lot of the biggest projects that have actually made like an insane impact have been, centralized. If you're looking at exchanges and other things like that. And, unfortunately there's, and there could be people that disagree, but with Bitcoin, which is like probably the best decentralization example for a quote unquote project, there's nothing really happening on the chain of merit that I've seen so far. I mean, it's starting to get really busy, and that's great to see, you know, DeFi popping off on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, you know, probably fundamentally more of like a payments rail. But yeah, it's definitely, we've got a huge way to go. Yeah, but yeah, I think we should speak it into existence, like Jeezy said. I don't think dropping the term is particularly like helpful for the space. I think we should just keep pushing towards what the space has been coined as, and when we get there, we get there.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, man. But yeah, adding meaning behind it, right? Like, you know, not just screaming it from the rooftops, but actually building it. And I think that that's important. Uh, and as far as Bitcoin goes, yeah, you know, I think it makes more sense as a payment rail. I know I'm getting off topic here a little bit, but like, I don't know, trying to build DeFi on top of Bitcoin seems like I just don't really know why we're necessarily trying to do it. It's not
Yeah.
really purpose built for it. You know, I've had that argument before. I've had people on here who are exactly doing that, right? You know, and kudos to them if they want to try it, but it just doesn't really make too terribly much sense to me, I guess. But, you know, that's my opinion again. So, you know, everybody's going to feel a little different about it.
Yeah, I also think that it's going to be super tricky to have like an entirely decentralized space when regulations are, you know, as fierce as they are. I don't think that there's, you know, room for both of the things necessarily to coexist with decentralization and heavy regulation. But yeah, maybe there's like an adjacent space where true builders can actually like push forward on the decentralized aspect of it. But I'm not sure. Regulations are so far overreaching that I don't know if we'll get away from those. But yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know where I'd necessarily sit on that argument either, man, because I think that, you know, some regulation is absolutely necessary, just due to human nature. You know, by the nature of what is possible over here, you're going to have incredibly bad actors. Where you draw the line, of course, is, you know, I think the pragmatic thing we're talking about is where you would draw the line with regulation. I don't think you could ever say that there will never be any regulation and it's always going to be a no holds barred kind of situation over here. I just don't personally see it. You know, I've had some more, I guess, crypto libertarian of my friends on here, of course. You know, Joel comes to mind from Dash. We don't always necessarily agree on everything, but, you know, I think that sensible regulation, is honestly what we should aim for. Another thing you mentioned as well, like with DAOs, you know, one of the things that a lot of DAOs run into all the time is, yeah, apathy, right? Like getting people to actually engage and vote in things. And they're like, hey, you know, we're actually really trying to do this here. You know, getting people to care about it is a little bit hard. And I can kind of understand it as well. I mean, the world is already hard enough, right? People have enough to worry about. That's probably one of the last things on the list. But you know, if you care about this kind of thing, you should definitely be more engaged and following along, especially if you're involved in a DAO. But that's my opinion as well. But thank you, man. All right. Well, pretty good answers for that first one. Thank you guys. Yeah, Ollie, you want to jump back in, man?
Yeah, just a quick one. You know what's interesting is that, I mean, per definition, Web3 is ownership, right? That's what it is. Now, people may actually experience that decentralized feeling without really being like decentralized. Here's the situation that we have right now. The people that are talking right now are people that are building and working on the Web3 space, right? So you know the backend, you know exactly what's under the curtain, you know all those details. But hey, I'm telling you right now, if I ask my friend that have an Ethereum wallet with some USDC and that pay some services with USDC, and I ask him, hey, are you like in a decentralized world? They're gonna say, yeah, the bank isn't controlling my money. So what I'm telling you is that even though if it's not 100% decentralized, which is like not depending of other legislation or laws or any control or, well, you know what I mean, that fantasy that we all want, right? We still have some type of ownership. And in fact, I'm going to ask you a question. Is it that bad? Like, think about it. Is it bad to having like a semi-centralized structure and companies that like they really implement Web3 solutions? Let me tell you a story right now. 3 days ago, I spoke with a QA specialist. So basically, his job is to adapt some, tech I would say, websites to basically do some research and adapt to users. Okay. And I asked him a question about the Web3. He said, yeah, I mean, Web3, I'm also in the Web3 space and, yeah, I'm loving it. I said, yeah, great. So what's your opinion about Web3 versus Web2? He said, you know, I have some advantages and some disadvantages. And I asked him a question about what is the translation, or I would say the adoption of Web2 users to Web3. He said to me, listen, just by putting a login instead of an email, by putting the login of just a wallet address, just a MetaMask login, it's a big step to the Web3 movement. And I agree. So that person can have that decentralized feeling of it is my wallet. I control my assets. They are on chain. It's not controlled by any bank or whatsoever. I can log in with my wallet and I have that decentralized feeling. And it's good. It's one step ahead. You know, we're moving slowly but steady. We all wish to be decentralized, but honestly, I can tell you a lot of softwares and like companies that really are adapting to the Web3 movement slowly just by doing a little things, you know, just by login here, but just by maybe creating or tokenizing the entities, the assets. And this is good. This is the Web3. It's not all about being decentralized. It's adapting the centralized infrastructures with the Web3 features that we all dream of. In my opinion, guys.
No, yeah, Ollie. I mean, I think I agree with you, man. I would even say that like there will always be some centralized elements to these things. Another reason why I think some people don't like decentralization is just because people intrinsically do want to trust other people to an extent sometimes. The phrase "don't let perfect be the enemy of good" is kind of coming to mind to me, in a lot of this conversation. And I think it was Pharmacy Cat who was saying, you can't discount, those companies that had some centralized elements, and sorry if it wasn't him and it was somebody else. I'm sorry, guys. But, if they had some centralized elements, but they were still doing, ultimately something that was good, for decentralization and for the space in general. Yeah, we can't discount them, right? I don't think that that's fair, to just outright be like, no, unless you pass the absolute purity test, whatever good you've done is out the window. I don't think that that's a fair argument either. So yeah, I agree, man. Great point. All right. Well, we're going to our next question here. This one is definitely opinion based, of course. I mean, they all are, but this one is definitely going to be more personal probably than anything else. And it's what's the most overhyped narrative in crypto right now, and what's actually being ignored in the space that you think is super important. And yeah, Unix, you guys can start us off.
Yeah, I want to answer this one. I think the most overhyped narrative right now is the buy this and you will be a millionaire next week, hype around certain meme coins. They create a lot of noise, and yeah, sometimes they go crazy in price, but they often distract people from tools and infrastructure that actually make Web3, let's say, long term. So what's being ignored is things like real security and smooth onboarding. At Unix, we invest heavily there because it's what keeps us, or what keeps people in the space after the hype fades. To give some examples, our multi-million dollars user security fund isn't a flashy headline, let's say, but it gives traders real protection. And we've built things like zero fee internal transfers, for example, so communities can move assets without paying network fees. That's huge for adoption, but it rarely makes the hype circle. So to sum it up, it's like the loud stuff gets attention, but the quiet stuff is what builds the foundation we can all stand on.
Yeah, 100% agree with that, man. And I think a lot of the infrastructure gets kind of lost in the noise as well. And it's kind of funny how, I think that's the most detrimental narrative to crypto, honestly, is like the whole get rich overnight thing and the meme coin thing. Yeah, you can absolutely 100x whatever if you bet on the right coin, right? But you don't know about all the other people that lose out every day. And one of the things that I like to read on X, I don't know if you guys follow this account, and this is not an endorsement in any way, but Coinfessions is actually like insane to read sometimes. You don't know if they're real or not, but like, man, people are like, I bet, my grandma's house on like Doge 5,000 and I lost it all. And it's like, well, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Like, pardon my French, but like, absolutely, like, you're insane. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't do that. If you're going to play with the meme coins, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't do that. I think anybody does, right? But it's like $30. If I lose $30, I'm not going to like, jump out of my window. If I lost 30,000, I might. So yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of like, being smarter, I guess, and that comes with time in the space as well. You start to realize that, hey, this whole narrative of like super quick money, probably not realistic, right? But yeah, thank you, man. All right, it's going to be Adrian, Guru, Jeff Key, and then Pharmacy Cat.
Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, it's a overhyped AI and blockchain, everything. Half the pitches are just ChatGPT with the token stapled on it. So this is like real world settlement systems that could replace our archaic rails. There's $1 trillion opportunity in actually moving money faster and cheaper. But if it's not sexy enough for Twitter, then nobody cares about it,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
You can keep going, man. No worries. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say this. Of course, I've had AI spaces. I have them all the time. I love AI. I think, well, I wouldn't say I love it. I'm cautiously, looking cautiously towards the future of what it could possibly be. But yeah, it's probably, if we're speaking outside of just like the hype narrative of easy money, that's probably the next one that gets thrown around a lot out here is like, oh, everything's going to be AI and all this stuff. And there's a lot to consider with that I, really don't have time to completely go through. But like, are we building AI to serve humanity, or the other way around? There's a lot to consider with that. And I think not a lot of people who are building AI over here are necessarily considering that. And they're definitely riding on that quick money hype narrative as well, just as much as a meme coin is, because how many of them actually have the wherewithal to, basically capitalize on what they're trying to do. It's probably not that many, right? I would say that it's kind of akin to the NFT hype of a few years ago where it was like, as long as you had a JPEG that looked cool and did nothing else, you could make, I don't know, a couple million real quick. But then, kind of went by the wayside and people were like, why do I have this thing? But again, that's me, and I've definitely talked crap about NFTs before that have no utility, and people were definitely pushing back on me, probably because they own a Bored Ape or something, but it's just, I never saw the appeal. So, kind of the same situation. But yeah, thank you, man. All right, let's go with Guru.
Yep. Yeah, in crypto, that's quite a one, and we ourselves a little bit on this one, but it's kind of interesting how both technologies are promising the future, and I believe have really low adoption still. Like even ChatGPT and everything, is it in daily lives of everyone? Not yet. It's basically we're still too early on both sides, and that's creates a kind of field where people are who's like visionaries of future or something. They trying to chip in everything on black or on red or whatever, see in the future, but technology is not there yet. Basically, the tools are not that polished, so everyone can understand them and so on and so forth. And combining both, we are combining both risks together, and it's a hard way, but some projects going through it and going towards it. At the same time, what's been overlooked are the products we've shipped already and we've been polishing for years in crypto space. For example, DeFi. DeFi is like here to stay, has utility, as Adrian said. For example, is it not good enough? It's already good enough. It's been polished a lot, and while those hypes are coming and going, there are some things to stay in there, and we here to basically preserve everything and make it available for everyone in the future.
Yeah, and people use the term like dino coins, right? Like coins that have been around for a long time, and it's like, oh, they're not doing much, blah, blah, whatever. It takes a while to actually build something, and especially like over here where it's still like pension economy is so small that like everything gets lost unless it's like the new fresh thing of the month. But again, maybe that will change once we get a little bit further away from the speculative things. And I guess for that to happen as well, and I've said this before, but like with Web 2 there was a consolidation period. I mean, yeah, there was like so many stupid ideas that everybody was just throwing money at in the .com era, and then that kind of went by the wayside a little bit quicker than it's happening over here, at least in my opinion. And I've said this before, but I feel like it's kind of dragging on over here for us to have a period of consolidation where you start to be like, okay, stop building the same 5 things over and over and over again in just a slightly different way. But yeah, thank you, Ben. Jeff Key, you're up, bro.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm not going to reiterate a couple things, but I do think that there's always going to be something hot and flashy in this space. I've learned that already. Been in the space since 2017-ish. You start learning that every year there's something else. There's been a fad of master nodes. There was a fad of coins sprouting, like layer 1 coins just sprouting left and right, all coming with what was the narrative back then? I think it was faster payments on this chain compared to that chain, and that was all bullshit. A lot of these things are long gone at this point. Yeah, we had the NFT rage, we had the meme coins. And funnily enough, I don't hear as much about the meme coins these days anymore, anyways. But there's pros and cons with that, right? The pros is that it comes with some attention. It brings attention and it brings new people in the space. The cons is that quite literally there's cons in that. There's a lot of people who just out there to make a quick buck on basically on somebody else's back, and that's the stuff that really always irks me around. And then, of course, is the project, and that's the first time I hear the term being called out, a dino coin. I wonder what the criteria is for that. But for instance, for Flux, we've been working on stuff since 2018, and things take time. Like I know a lot of people always think, oh, you just have to put a lot of people on it, and then you just crank it out, and boom, you're Bob's your uncle. No, that's not how that works. You have to really put the time and effort in. Trial and error. A lot of things are built. Not everything is a success. But if you stick to your guns and you know what you're building and you have a vision, at one point, it's either going to be either it makes it or it breaks it. And in our case, what we're starting to see is that we had to make sacrifices. And one of the things that I heard somebody else talk about, if you have your wallet and you can connect to that application with your wallet, and then you can do everything with the wallet, that was great. That worked, and we still have that. But what we did see is that regular businesses are not really always keen on adopting that right there. They're familiar with a login or a single sign-on feature, and sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit of vision and cypherpunk mentality to, if you want to get adoption, you have to take a step back and provide what people are commonly used to. And getting to those realizations, getting to that adoption, and getting to that mindset, that takes time. We're all cypherpunks here. I think we all have a dream of decentralization and seeing this technology really make a big difference. But sometimes we have to learn to take a step back, and that's something that a lot of folks don't have the time and patience for. And you see that with the meme coins, you see that with the NFTs. People are not, they're focused on the big green percentages. Hey, this thing is running up 500%, so that must be the right thing to invest in. Sometimes it takes time to develop something. A good point in case of that, just think of Amazon, how many years they were under the radar, and then all of a sudden they came out and boom, now everybody talks and tries to copy Amazon almost. Clearly they were onto something. So stick to your guns, take the time to develop. And as an investor, and this is really investment advice, but as an investor, make sure you diversify your portfolio. Make sure you can have some of those flashy things too, but do know that they're flashy and like fireworks. It goes up, explodes, and it's gone. Take your time. Do it proper.
Yeah, I think taking your time and doing it proper is great advice for especially this industry as a whole. And I think it's something that you learn over time. And by the way, I wanted to be clear as well, Dino Coin, is not meant to be derisive. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it's basically, a token that's been around, I guess you could say around like the initial coin offering phase back in the day. You could perceive them as more like less trendy and things like that. But, they've done some things that have allowed them to constantly evolve and stay around in the space, which is a great thing. I think people just kind of lose sight of it as like, oh yeah, it's just, it's there, it's whatever. But, they're still doing things. I mean, especially you could consider Ethereum like the OG of that, I suppose, right? Which is definitely the second most, the biggest coin in the world in terms of market cap. So, yeah, I didn't really mean it in a bad way, but it's just a matter of like the attention economy, paying less attention to those and being more flashy like we're talking about. But it's good to diversify. I definitely agree. But yeah, thank you, man. All right. I believe it was Pharmacy Cat next.
Yeah, hey. So I'm not sure if it's like a narrative thing, but it seems to me that there's just so much in the general space that's being overhyped right now. Particularly like non-unique builds. It seems like every new project seemed to focus on like just slightly improving the last one. I think that's getting really annoying. We don't need, thousands of founders slightly improving on an L1 launching, a token and raising 100 mil. I think we should sort of focus on, building and fixing what we have. It's been really, really, really overhyped in the L1 part of the space. So many L1s just launching with slight improvements. I think airdrops are sort of partly blamed to that. That's another subject. I think airdrops are super overhyped as well, considering it's just like a token generation. But yeah, that's sort of like grinding me a little bit, is just seeing constant new launches, new raises for like very, very little improvement. I mean, no one's really winning the race either, which is like a huge indication of oversaturation. I think we should just focus on improving what we have first before moving to the next step of building an entire new layer. SocialFi is probably the second most overhyped thing. I mean, I appreciate the slight conversation we touched on earlier around wanting decentralized social networks. I think it's super, super important, and I'm a big advocate for that. But right now, it seems like the narrative is like chase airdrop for SocialFi platform, repeat, and yeah, that's super boring as well. It doesn't really push anyone anywhere, and there's like so many of them just popping up out of nowhere. I think, to be honest, the other part of the question, I think, was like, and what's being ignored? And I don't think it's being ignored as such. It's like quite a huge narrative, but I think the actual size of the institutional real world asset tokenization space is being considerably overlooked. I think that this is probably the clear use case being developed out of the entire space right now. While everyone's focused on just launching a project, dropping, a token and sort of maybe just running away a little bit, I think onboarding traditional finance into the space is probably the biggest thing that we could have probably hoped for. this kind of with DeFi and the space in general. I just think, yeah, it's super overlooked. I think I see that it's on the timeline a lot, but I don't see like many people actually considering the actual size of this push. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. And it kind of ties back into our first question, when we're talking about, bringing institutional and traditional finance over here. You run the risk of, they're obviously going to want some control, a lot of the times, or unless you can kind of get them to understand that, like, nobody controls this, which would obviously be, the better argument, I guess, to have with them. So yeah, it's definitely intrinsically linked to that one. And I couldn't agree more with like the fact of like making what we already have just work or be better. I mean, I'm fully aware that like the first iteration of technology is often not the best one, right? But like how many layer twos do we need for Ethereum, right? Like it seemed like for a while there, it was like every day there was like a new layer two, and it's like, okay, well, it's already hard enough to navigate, around here, right? Even for us, it's annoying. I've said it myself before. Friends have been like, yo, come try this play out on Tron or whatever, or just, any other blockchain. And I'm like, I don't really want to, because I'm gonna have to find a bridge. I'm gonna have to find a new exchange. I'm gonna have to figure out what stables they support, all this other crap, right? And it's just like the interoperability needs to be like the main thing I think that people start working on, in order to get people to actually use this over here. And I believe someone else was saying it earlier, but like, understanding that some people are going to want to have regular logins and different things like that, and kind of, reaching the point where you're like, okay, well, we'll offer it as an option, even if we think, how we would log into a wallet is technically better, and it is technically better, right? But it's just harder to use and harder for people to understand. So sometimes you have to meet people where they are, which I think is kind of an underlying theme of what we've been talking about today. But yeah, thank you, man. All right, I'm Jet, bro.
I'll have to agree with Jeff for some of his point. Basically, with social fi and layer two, and yeah, going back to social fi, I think this also. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. With regards to social fi, I think this ties in. So the most overhyped, in my personal opinion, not an opinion of the organization that I'm representing, is the yapping to earn trend, or the ones that has to do with both social fi and info fi as well. So I'm gonna um, I'm gonna mention like projects, but I have nothing against them. And I will tell you a little bit about it later. But first, let me mention these are just the example. It's not entirely them, but they are just part of the entire narrative that's basically overhead. So that's I think Kaito and Laudio, um, and anything that is related to those kind of products. It feels too intrusive sometimes, and also there was a scenario in where one blockchain actually had all their like teams block, or filter the news feed of the team for specific like keywords from that blockchain. So something like that happened recently, and that's a very popular blockchain actually right now, and it's quite new. But the thing is, it's too intrusive, and goes to show what happened, that it really feels like that. It also feels like a trend, and we may know trends to be temporary, right? And I'd say it's like play to earn, the same narrative. It's not in the most sustainable shape yet, and people are flocking over it and hyping it too much. We may need to step back a little and make it more sustainable, and maybe I'd like to see it evolve better, and maybe a less hype, and be part of like a regular thing, but maybe less intrusive. But I still like it, and I still want it to evolve, to be like a better version or better shape of itself. Now with what's being ignored, I would say some blockchains that are designed to prioritize frictionless and um, I would say even um, customer experience or sorry, user experience and UI. So there are new blockchains that are coming out that really have that as a branding, more than the technology, more than the product. They are focusing more on that kind of simplicity, and I think that's something that we need for mass onboarding of people. And also another one is BTC-Fi or Bitcoin DeFi. Um, it's just scratching the surface right now. So despite Bitcoin comprising half of the crypto market cap, it's about the Bitcoin DeFi aspect is just 0.1% of the entire market cap of Bitcoin. So around 1.6 billion in BTC-Fi. It is that's what's currently locked. So for perspective, if Bitcoin DeFi locked value mirrored Ethereum's, that would be 15% of its market cap. And we'd be looking at around 200 billion opportunity, $200 billion plus opportunity, and a staggering like 130x from now. So that's really big. And if you are bullish enough to envision that Bitcoin surpassing gold market cap, then Bitcoin DeFi could easily be scaling into $1 trillion range. So right now it's again it's just on $1.2 billion range. It's very minimal. So you probably hear BTC-Fi already, but I bet hearing it doesn't bring you to research it. So I'd say it's mostly ignored, especially by those who have Bitcoin.
Which is kind of ironic that it is so ignored by people with Bitcoin. This is kind of my point earlier, because like, this is probably the only thing I disagree with you on, is I think that like, I don't know if Bitcoin DeFi is absolutely necessary. Just be from basically the very nature of how like the chain works and everything else. I feel like it's trying to uh, I don't know, do something with the technology that it's not really meant to do. But that's me personally. But yeah, the weird thing in the room with that is like most Bitcoin maxis don't give a crap about, anything but Bitcoin. So it's always kind of weird. It's like an uphill battle for all of them. I've even asked in Bitcoin DeFi focused spaces before. It's like, well, how do you get maxis to start caring about this? And basically the consensus was like, I don't know if we can, just based off of who they are. But yeah, I mean, you go again, man.
Oh yeah, I would have to agree. It's very ironic, right? But goes to show that it's really somehow we could say that it's kind of ignored.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And Pharmacy Cat, I saw you raise your hand like halfway through. Do you have something to add to what he was saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that the Cato and Laudio mention was like a good shout. I think, although I understand that mind share is like everything for companies that are trying to, get out of that adoption curve or that sort of breakout curve that companies see, particularly on the internet. I don't like letting these platforms dictate our social feeds. I think that really sucks. Just for airdrops as well, I think it's really super toxic. I think that there's like a lot to be developed on those sides, and I would love to see them get developed further. But I think the airdrop side of it is destroying like the the actual, purpose. Like, people are just grinding to get airdrops. There's zero retention for these companies beyond TGE, unless they just keep paying out. I mean, is that really sustainable? The algorithmic decision making that's part of those platforms is like absolutely trash. It's just rubbish. And they say they're improving it a lot, and fair play to them. I hope we see them super, super improved, because right now they're absolute crap. I think, it's another part of the space which I think is becoming super toxic. We used to do so much research, like average participants used to do so much research into white papers and tokens and projects and teams. And actually, a lot of the original KOLs that were built through the last sort of 10 years were super bullish on the space, because they, understand a vision, understood the build, understood the white paper, and became super bullish. I think now you can just fake all of that to get an airdrop and then move on to suck it out of the next project. And I think that's a good shout to call those names out. I think that they are sort of, kind of ruining the space, especially from my side of things, where I build communities and do marketing. It's not particularly great. I think that stuff should stay in development, personally.
I mean, you're going to trigger a rant for me, man, because, like, I'm surprised that people still think airdrops are viable. I'm surprised that people think they have any viability at all anymore, as an incentive. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't get it. It's more of like, hey, we're going to basically speed run our project into the ground. Here's the airdrop, right? I mean,
sorry, just to cut you off. I think it attracts I mean, I know it's a necessity, and if you're not going to do that these days, you're going to lose like an insane amount of mindshare, right? It's probably right now not worth not airdropping, right? And obviously there's all kinds of regulation clarity that was needed with ICOs or IDOs and that kind of like platform that we were selling tokens on before for projects. But yeah, I think it attracts toxic behavior. I think it attracts, toxic founders, and all that kind of jazz that comes along with being able to, build something for a year, raise 100 mil, drop a token a year later, and suddenly have, whatever size war chest at your disposal, and then deciding whether you want to actually continue building that or siphon it out some way. Is the sort of next step for a toxic founder. But yeah, it's been pretty disheartening to watch airdrops actually, since being a participant, pre-airdrop. I'm kind of a little bit disheartened on it at the moment, but we'll see how these platforms manage to handle this content, the content production side of things, and hopefully it's onwards and upwards, but I don't see it right now.
yeah, I don't either, man. But I think incentive structures will definitely change over the next coming years. I think we're starting to see a lot of incentives that really, more than anything, just bring mercenaries, and they definitely aren't sustainable in the long term, right? I had this argument before in another space. It wasn't really an argument, but we were talking about it, where it was like, eventually, once you go to a certain point, your incentive structure has to either completely change or go by the wayside, because, it's accomplished what it was meant to do, which was to kind of bring early adopters in. And then at that point, whatever product you build should be speaking for itself and people should be using it, right? That's kind of the idea, or at least it should be the idea. The other thing that you said, man, as somebody who, has a background in writing, tech writing, different things like that, wrote, helped write Git books and different things and explain it to a general audience about what a project was doing. It is just heartening to me more than anything, the fact that people don't really read anymore, or they want to digest everything, in like a 30-second video. And really, a lot of the stuff over here, I mean, at the end of the day, we can make it as easy as possible, but some things you really do just have to learn, right? And I think a lot of people don't have that drive within them to want to learn things anymore. I'm not trying to sound like an old man shouting at the clouds here, right, guys? But, I think it's just an inevitability of like, people's attention spans lately in the TikTok era and things like that. And God, I sound like an old man, crying about the new generation, but, I think there's some truth to it. But yeah, thank you, man. All right, guys. Well, we're a little over time, but no worries. I'm going to return the floor to you guys. Basically, this is what I like to do at the end is just like, kind of closing remarks again. You could drive home, any kind of thing you want to talk about with your project, any initiatives, different things like that, where people can find you. And for this, I'm going to go bottom to top. So Imes, you're up, man.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you again. By the way, please do follow every one of the people here who have taken time to give their insights and make this conversation very fruitful and outstanding. And also, I would say, please do check out Core DAO. Core provides an aligned platform for Bitcoin to grow beyond a store of value. So, don't we all just want to like have a yield and not just save Bitcoin as a I would say just plainly a store of value, but something that generates yield. As Bitcoin remains at the center of blockchain ecosystem, Core would still be the key that unlocks sustainable yields and Bitcoin staking yields, and it's here to stay for as long as Bitcoin. I would say personally, as long as Bitcoin stays. So please do check it out.
Yeah, thank you for being here, man. Appreciate you. Hey, Adrian, I saw your hand real quick, man. I know you're busy. I'll go ahead and break rate. Go ahead.
Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, well, find us at Cadena _IO. We have a $50 million grant program open right now. We're launching new chain, new Solidity compatible chains that are currently on testnet. So hit us up and let us know what your project is, and if it's anything interesting, we'll get you rolling.
Nice. Thank you, Adrian. And good luck on your move, man. I absolutely hate moving, so I know how you're feeling right now.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a hassle.
Yeah, it sucks, man. Well, good luck. All right. Either Pharmacy Cat or Jeezy, whichever one of you guys wants to kind of handle this right now with Elixir.
Hey, yeah, I guess we'll just talk about like what we've just announced. We just had like a $1 trillion AUM fund proposed to hold 5% of their real world asset fund in our stablecoin for instant liquidity for tokenized real world asset funds. It's like one fund in particular, but there's more in the pipeline. I think this is like a big step towards unlocking liquidity for DeFi and TradFi with real world asset clients. Currently, like none of these real world asset tokenized funds can be used, tokens can be used in any kind of lend borrows in DeFi. There's insane redemption times for this liquidity. There's no native on-chain stablecoin mint redemption compatibility, and there's no sort of AMM liquidity, partly being because it's not worth it to bootstrap for each individual fund. Elixir actually has solved all of this between the partnerships, network, and the yield-bearing stablecoin, creating like deep liquidity on-chain for these funds, serving as liquidators for these lend borrows and enabling the liquidity there. Yeah, it's pretty exciting times at Elixir, I think. One of the first times I've seen these funds want to hold a yield-bearing stablecoin, and excited that it's been us to be picked. So yeah, check us out, elixir.xyz. You can go check out all our docs there, and it's at Elixir in Twitter. So cheers, and thanks for the invite to the space. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks to both of you guys for coming and representing Elixir. Thank you guys. All right, Jeff Key, you're up, man.
I just want to say thank you for inviting us to the space. I would like to say thank you to over the 3,000 people listening. That's impressive. I appreciate the original question, and why Web3 should we all be using it? Should we already be using it as well? I think at this point, what I've noticed in the last year or so is that the space is actually maturing. I know there's a lot of meme coins and a lot of hoo-ha around those things, but I'm starting to see a slow transition into more serious type of adoption. You see the mainstream media is constantly bringing up Bitcoin even more than it used to be. And in the past, it was more of a joking way. These days, it's more like, okay, what is it? How do we use it? Why are people still so in favor of it? And then you can start seeing that adoption. So it's good to see all of that. Personally, as the business developer and the customer success for my customers, I'm starting to see adoption, right? So I'm seeing the writing on the wall. It's coming. We're really close. Everybody who's here is actually really early in the space, and yeah, well, we see things like airdrops, we see things like meme coins, NFTs, all of these things. But it's ways of experimenting. It's ways of seeing what hits and what sticks. And I love that. That's what drives innovation. And I'm all for it. If you want to see what Flux is doing, you go to runonflux.com. If you want to run your own game server for pennies on the dollar, or you want to run a website for pennies on the dollar, and you want to know for sure that it's decentralized, come hang out in the Discord, ask questions. How are we decentralized? How are we securing things? How do we make sure that if it's running on somebody's PC in his basement, how do you know for sure that that's secure and that data is safe? We've built technologies all for that. So come and ask, come and learn. So runonflux.com. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. All right, Guru Network.
Hey. So I believe we had a great conversation, which came to the narrative we are pushing mostly right now in regards of everything comes through community first, and we are delivering for the community our new kind of reshaped products, trading terminal and community apps, which anyone can launch from the wizard and have like fully functional community app with all the like account abstractions and all the engagement parts included. That's we believe is the future, and participating in those talks kind of ensures us even more that, you know, finding those niches where technology, which all of us are developing and for years could work, and it kind of makes sense to have it from like government's perspective, from you know, participation perspective, and all around. So yeah, thanks everyone. Great talks, great ideas, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming as well, man. All right, and of course, BitUnix.
All right, big thanks to everyone who tuned in today. We're seeing over 3K live listeners, which is amazing. So shout out first to you, Tyler, and the Web3 Global team for hosting this session. It's always great to support your spaces, guys. And yeah, for BitUnix, what's happening? We have new offers every week. 670K USDT trading challenge this month. New campaigns, partnerships, new listings, and many other things happening every week at BitUnix. So follow us on X, for example. It's at BitUnix official, and to stay up to date. Other than this, thanks to all the speakers here for this insightful session. And of course, to all the projects here today, if you're looking to collab or run an AMA or even get listed on BitUnix, our DMs are always open. And yeah, let's follow each other. Again, thanks to everyone for this session today, and see you next week.
Heck yeah, thanks for helping us out today, man. And yeah, he said it for me, but let's follow each other. It's what this is about, as well as connecting you guys to people that you may not have ever, had the chance to meet and talk to before. If you guys want to throw me a follow, I'm in the co-host spot. Definitely wouldn't mind. But yeah, this was Web3 Global Talks, guys. Thanks for making it a good one. This was episode 440, powered by BitUnix. I'm going to see you guys on Monday. I almost said tomorrow. Forgot it was Friday. For episode 441. And until then, stay safe and have a great weekend, y'all. Talk to you later.